Okay. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm not sure if I should speak in English or Spanish. My Spanish is a bit poor. So, voy a intentar en español, ya estamos hablando en español, pero si los intérpretes tienen dificultad para...
There is no problem. We are transmitting in two languages. We have the Spanish and we have the interpretation into English. And our audience here in the room does have the earphones and they can listen to the interpretation into Spanish. So please go ahead, speak English.
Okay. Okay, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure. Thanks, Julia, for your explanation on the work of the panel. I had the chance to follow my minister during the meetings of the panel, and I always had the pleasure of watching the interventions by Julia Carragher with her ability, with her wisdom, and with her way of trying to solve conflicts that often appeared in the discussions, which were very rich in the meetings that I attended. And from the perspective of Brazil, this panel provides a great contribution to the discussions. We, as the host country of the conference, will have a great ambition towards the conference, and we expect the conference to be a groundbreaking result in terms of the discussions that we need to have in terms of sustainable development. Many people ask us whether we are concerned about the way that the economic crisis can be affecting the results of the conference. And I always think that the economic crisis that many countries are facing actually provides a great opportunity to the Rio+20 outcomes. As we didn't have an economic crisis, people could always say that we had to pay some kind of price in terms of social and environmental dimensions for the development of the economy. And as we have now the economy also facing a deep crisis, we have a very explicit sign that we cannot run the world the way we are moving anymore. We have an economic, we have an environment, and we have a social process that are making it explicit that the development models that we have are not working anymore. And that's what we expect to be very clear in the process leading to the Rio+20, as countries will be able to make decisions towards what we expect in terms of development. There are many issues in the conference that are ways to give the signs to the international community. And we are very pleased that many of the signs came and arrived first in the discussions of the panel. For example, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are one of the most effective outcomes we are expecting for the conference. We had, since the very beginning of the panel, discussions on this idea, and the members of the panel had the chance to discuss the ways that these goals could be an outcome for the conference. We believe that if we are able to move towards successful result in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals, this will be a way to give signs of the whole idea of sustainable development that we are working in the conference. Because the Sustainable Development Goals, they are not interesting in terms of concept, but also in terms of the contents. In terms of concept, we like the idea that the Sustainable Development Goals can provide a sign of including both developed and developing countries. So our countries, we are talking about universal goals that will include and make it valid and commitment for our countries. And this is an important sign because one of the difficult things we are facing in the international process nowadays is this perverse north-south divide that's leading nowhere. We are having this finger point exercise in most negotiations, and we feel that it's not the time to just blame others in terms of responsibilities, but it's also time for countries to commit in terms of their own responsibilities, in terms of their own capabilities, but assuming that our countries have their part in the answers to the global problems. And the Sustainable Development Goals give the sign. We believe that the Rio+20 summit can also provide a good sign in terms of the multilateral system as a solution for global problems. We definitely believe that the United Nations should be reinforced in its role as an important forum for discussing and for resolving global problems collectively. And this is again another issue that we are lacking nowadays, and we face this crisis of credibility and of strength of the United Nations. So it's important for us that the United Nations is reinforced with the results of Rio+20, and again, the Sustainable Development Goals can be defined as we will be working together with the United Nations and with member countries towards the achievement of these goals. We also heard now the way that some of the questions addressed to Julia Carrales were dealing with the public participation in the process. We believe that the way that the non-governmental actors are being able to influence the multilateral process is lacking, is going behind the way that the non-governmental actors are being able to influence results and actions all over the world. We have today the major groups which are working together with the United Nations, and in many ways the richness of these major groups, all the knowledge they might be able to contribute are not being effective in terms of providing answers and in terms of affecting the decision making of the process. Basically, these actors have their own moments to talk during this process, but everything that they are able to say, to talk, and to provide is not being effectively used for the discussions and for the decisions that are being adopted. This is much more common in the national process. Most countries have national fora and many other different possibilities of being influenced by non-government actors. But in the multilateral process, this is not something that's happening very effectively. So we believe that one of the results of the conference can also be a more effective way of non-governmental actors to influence the process in multilateral process. This also deals with the discussion on governance. And again, Brazil is very optimistic that we can get a good result in terms of governance. We believe in a parallel process, which is not alternative or contradictory in terms of a result in terms of sustainable development governance and in terms of environmental governance. It's very important that we achieve a good result in terms of sustainable development governance. All the actions in terms of the United Nations, initiatives, programs, organisms are very fragmented, and we need a bit more of coordination and coherence. This is something that the Commission on Sustainable Development was meant to provide, but the way that the CSD was created and the way that it was implemented couldn't provide good results on this perspective. So we believe that we need a more politically influenced organism in a higher hierarchy inside the United Nations, and we believe that United Nations Council on Sustainable Development or our United Nations Forum on Sustainable Development can provide this coordination coherence that we are lacking now, including the ability to work with organizations that are not strictly part of this process, as the World Bank, IMF, World Trade Organization, and others. In terms of international environmental governance, we believe that we need to provide more strength to UNEP. The United Nations Environment Program was created just after the conference Stockholm 72, and it was created in a moment when the environment was not such an essential question to development as it is today. So the UNEP is not effective today to provide answers to the global environmental problems as we need. So we believe that we need a strong decision in terms both of sustainable development governance and for environmental governance. Okay, so in terms of governance, we also believe that we are talking about two parallel decisions and they are not opposite. So we might need to be flexible in terms of possibility. So we are really hoping that hello? Are you listening? Okay, so there's some kind of interference here. So for Brazil, issues in terms of users?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. I got disconnected.
And we see you too.
Okay, so I can also hear you. So just to finish. So we are expecting that this conference can provide signs in terms of strengthening the multilateral system, in terms of mitigating the North-South divide, and in terms of making all countries included in its results, not producing losers or winners. And then that's why we believe that a good result in terms of governance and a good result in terms of public participation and a good result in terms of the sustainable development goals will be able to provide the signs that we need. Of course, we are facing negotiations now which are being quite complex. There are many countries which are fighting for their own perspectives, which is natural in a process like that. But we believe that as the day is approaching, we will be able to find the focus and to find the flexibility that our countries must show in a process like that. And besides that, we believe that we all benefit from the rich discussions that the whole global society is facing in terms of development. And here in our country, and we can hear lots of descriptions of what's happening all over the world. There are many sectors of society, inside governments, inside non-governmental actors, which are discussing the way that they see and they believe in terms of sustainable development. And this is very important. That's what constitutes the legacy of Rio+20 for countries and for peoples. And here in Brazil, we are very aware that independently of the international process, all these discussions are part of the richness of the society, the Brazilian society in terms of discussion for sustainable development. So we are ready to engage in a discussion with the Brazilian society after Rio+20 so that we can recognize and accept the contributions that are coming from these different sectors. We are having debates with trade unions, we are having discussion with workers, we are having discussions with political parties, we are having discussions with women associations, with the youth, with non-governmental organizations, and as important as that, we are having very rich discussions with governmental institutions that were not used to this discussion, to this integrated discussion for sustainable development. So we are working with the Minister of Finance, we are working with the Minister of Planning, which traditionally were not engaged in this discussion for sustainable development. And that's a side benefit of RIO+20, which is the way that we are engaging actors which 20 years ago were not as effectively engaged as they are now. That's the reason why we believe that we can get the most important benefits from RIO+20. That's the reason why we are very optimistic in terms of the results of RIO+20. We are really counting on the participation of high-level participation from a huge number of countries. We have lots of heads of states already confirmed. More than 100 heads of states have confirmed their participation. And so that's the reason why we are really believing that RIO+20 will provide the science that the world is needing in terms of new models for development. Thanks very much for this opportunity. Thanks very much for being with you all.